Hi fellas. So, talked about how I wanted to do a video this week on drafting theory. If you missed it, I've already put up my video for the draft I did last Friday. I put it up on, like, I want to say Sunday. Because, well, I made the video then because I was getting ready for a standard tournament that afternoon, which was the first sanctioned game I've played in over a decade. Sanctioned constructed, that is. For those who want to know, no, I didn't do well. I kind of made a budget version of a blue-red control aggro deck, and it didn't work out as well as I would have hoped. Largely on account of the fact that there were a few key cards that I was kind of missing, I think. For example, Snapcasters. I only own one Snapcaster, and there were also the build I was most looking at. I was using as my template was also using I believe it's Stromkirk Nobles, the 1/1 that gets a +1/+1 counter every time he deals combat damage to an opponent, and he plays for a single red. Yeah, I end up replacing the Stromkirks with Reckless Waifs, and the Snapcasters, I think I ended up omitting them entirely and like putting other accessory cards in. In retrospect, probably not the best idea. If I do get my hands on Snapcasters and modify the deck, obviously the waves have to come out, because, hey, if you play Snapcaster and then flash back a card with him, guess what happens? If your Reckless Waves have transformed into 3/2s, they're back to 1/1s. Yeah. So there's that, right? So anyways, drafting theory, right? Now, I've said it before, your basic drafting theory is this. That's your basic drafting theory, guys. No, it is not loaf. Sarcastic buns of sitches. There we go. It's BREAD. It's an acronym. B-R-E-A-D. Bombs, removal, evasion, attack, defense. I've also heard attack also referred to as ability. That also works in a pinch as well, and it's not a bad alternative to what I learned. But bomb is a card that's going to win the game in and of itself, and that's not necessarily a creature. And it's also not necessarily a big creature. I mean, Flameborn Viron, the 6/4 red creature from New Phyrexia, no special abilities. It's a common for 4 and double red. It's basically a red crawl worm. I've seen people who thought that was a good card, and because they didn't have a lot of experience with the game. And the long and short of that one is, no, it's not a good card. It's not a bomb. Yes, it's a big creature. It's not a bomb. A big creature a bomb creature also has evasion. It's difficult to deal with in some ways. For example, if Lantern Spirit, the 2/1 flyer for 2 colors and a blue, that you can pay blue to return it to your hand. And if Lantern Spirit was like a 4/4 for like 1 in triple blue or something, totally different story. That would be bombastic. That would be bombastic. But there's that removal. Removal is any card that will get rid of another card. Evasion, any card that's difficult to block, blah, 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 blah. You know how it is. Now, you might be wondering what these cards I just put here are. I've got cards here going as far back as World Wake. And I'm going to go over these real quick. These are interesting because they all have one thing in common. And I'm going to go over what each card does, and I want you to try and guess what all these cards have in common. Yes, they're magic cards. Shut up. I know what you're thinking. These are all a bunch of sarcastic little bastiches. So anyways, we've got Tuk Tuk the Explorer. He's a 2 and a red for a 1/1 legendary goblin. Haste. Hits the graveyard. You get a 5/5 goblin, legendary goblin golem token. Artifact creature. An Escaped Null, 3 and a black for a 1/2 lifelink. When he blocks or becomes blocked, he gets +5/+0 till end of turn. Core Firewalker, he's a double white for a 2/2 pro red. Whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain a life. Gastaff Shepherd, he's a colorless in the green for a 2/2 werewolf. Basically, he's a grizzly bear until he transforms, at which point he becomes a 3/3 intimidate. Invisible Stalker, 1/1 hexproof, unblockable. Viridian Emissary, colorless in the green for a 2/1. When he hits the graveyard from play, search your library for a basic land, put it into play tapped, shuffle. Perilous Mirror, 1/1, hits the graveyard from play, deals 2 damage to a creature or player. Typhoid Rats, it's a 1/1 death touch for black. Doomed Traveler is a 1/1 for white, that when he hits the graveyard from play, you get a 1/1 flying white spirit token. Orchard Spirit, 2 colorless and a green for a 2/2, cannot be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. Vampire Interloper, colorless and a black for 2/1 flyer that can't block. Goblin Arsonist, he's a 1/1 for red. When he hits the grave from play, you may deal 1 damage to target creature or player. And an Oculist, it's a colorless and a blue for a 1/1. When he hits the graveyard from play, draw a card. Now, question is, what do all these cards have in common? What do they all have in common? I'm going to tell you what they all have in common. And the answer may surprise you a little bit. All these creatures have an evasion ability. Now, for some of them, it's pretty obvious. This guy's unblockable. This guy has flying. This guy has intimidate. This guy can only be blocked by creatures with flying or reach. Even this guy, pro red, cannot be blocked by red creatures because of his protection ability. So you might be asking yourself, dude, why is it all of these other guys, in your mind, have an evasion ability? And I'll tell you. I'll tell you why right now. Because your opponent doesn't want to block them. Don't believe me? Block a Doomed Traveler. Go ahead. Block it. I don't care. I get a better creature in return. I get something that flies in return. I swing with Oculus. Do you want me to draw a card? What's worth more to you? Me drawing a card or you losing life? I mean, what? That's the choice. I mean, if you talk to most veteran players of the game, they will come right out and tell you if they could pay 1 life to stop their opponent from drawing a card, they'd do it. They'd do it all damn day. In fact, they would gladly start the game at 13 life if their opponent had no opening hand. Hell, most players would gladly start the game at 5 life if their opponent had no opening hand. Some of us would be willing to cut down to 3. So that is getting kind of dangerous. But whatever, right? Typhoid Rats. It's a 1/1. Death touch. Unless you have an equally valueless creature or a creature that is more valuable to you dead than alive, do you block him? What do you got over there? You got a 5/5? Hey, that's awesome. Swing with Typhoid Rats. You want to block? No, really, do you? Of course you don't. Typhoid Rats also has an interesting benefit of also being incredible at defense as well. Much like he's a Buddy Escape Null, he's a 1/2 lifelinker, gets +5/+0 till end of turn if blocking or blocked. I swing with Escape Null. Do you want to take the 1 point damage and have me gain 1 life? Or do you want to block him and have me gain 6? Now, mind you, life gain normally isn't all that great. It really isn't. But 6 points of life gain, that right around that point is where people start sitting up and taking notice, especially if it's something that can be done repeatedly. Goblin Arsonist. People will block him more readily than they will a lot of these other cards because it goes to the graveyard from play and it's 1 point of direct damage. He can trade with a 2 toughness creature, or he can just pin you for 1 as he dies. It's the same reason why Mog Fanatic, back when damage used the stack, same reason why Mog Fanatic was considered incredible and was nicknamed Mr. Fantastic. It was not a comic book reference, or it might have been, you never know. But, yeah. Perilous Mirror is very similar in that regard to the Goblin Arsonist, except it's 2 damage. A lot of people tend to like to classify him as removal, and he really isn't. His ability, when he dies, do 2 damage to target creature or player. Yes, when he dies, he gets it's a removal ability, but as long as he's on the board, that ability that's effectively removal serves the function of evasion. People don't want to block him. They would rather take the hit than lose their own creatures. And that's the long and short of it there. Viridian Emissary, it's an interesting one because it's a 2-point hit. So people might be more willing to block it, but he's designed with a 1 toughness so that he dies easily. He hits the graveyard from play, you tutor up a land. What do? I mean, just as an example, let's say I play him turn 2. Turn 3. I untap, upkeep, draw my card. I swing. Do you want to block him? Do you know if I've drawn a land yet? I haven't played a land yet, you know. What's going on? Did I not draw a land? Do I have nothing to play? Or am I just, am I swinging, hoping you'll block it, and you'll give me a land? Or is it a ruse? Am I doing this just to make you think? Am I doing this just to test you? What's worth more to you, keeping me at 2 land or taking the hit? I'll tell you something right now. Would I pay 2 life to nuke a land? Yes. Yes, I would. I would pay 2 life to nuke a land so damn hard. And in some ways, that's what not blocking him basically can be. It's a big tempo loss for your opponent if he misses his 3rd land draw. That's a huge tempo loss. Tuk Tuk. Now, from what I've been seeing for a lot of these other cards, you know, some of them, the incentive to not block these guys isn't as huge as it could be, especially relative to their power. You know, like, especially with the Viridian Emissary. But with Tuk Tuk, it's a whole different story. I swing with Tuk Tuk. Would you like to take 1 damage or give me a 5/5 legendary artifact golem creature? What do you want to do? Go ahead. Block Tuk Tuk. See if I care. And of course, you know, once again, just like a lot of these other guys, Tuk Tuk is just as intimidating on the defense. Because you don't want to swing into him. Because he just sits there and is like, come on, bring it. No, really, bring it. Yeah. Because he's Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuk, mofos. Tuk Tuk. You know? Ah, jeez. So yeah, there's a little talk about evasion. Now, I'm going to look at a couple of booster packs right here and now. Because I've got them handy. Well, I've already opened them up. What happened is, this past weekend when I did Standard, only 4 guys showed up, so we only had a 4-man tournament. I came in dead last. Yeah. But I got 2 booster packs as consolation prize, you know, considering entry fee and all that fun, happy stuff. And what I got out of these booster packs, let's look at this booster pack first. Alrighty. Now, sadly, this right here is an assy pack. It really is. This pack is pretty assy. Except for, of course, the presence of a Garg Relentless. It doesn't matter if you open this pack in a draft. It doesn't matter if you open it first pack, if you open it second pack, if you open it third pack. It doesn't matter. That's your pick. Period. Statement ends. None of this other stuff really matters. In fact, you look at the rest of this other stuff, and you see a lot of stuff that's kind of ho-hum for the most part. I mean, after Garrick, the best cards in here are the Voiceless Spirit, the Claustrophobia, the Orchard Spirit, maybe the Monstrosity, or the Rage Thrower. I've seen people get good use out of Rage Thrower. I'm not completely sold on it. But I'm not about to say it can't work. But yeah, Victim of Night is an almost good card. It's just that in this block, it's rough. Because of its targeting restriction. Non-vampire, non-werewolf, non-zombie. Okay, you kill humans. You kill spirits. You kill most non-werewolf green creatures. But that's about it, you know? I mean, it's really iffy. It's really iffy. But it's just like, yeah, Garrick would obviously be your first pick. Now, if this pack comes to you with Garrick missing, because, you know, obviously whoever opened it's going to take Garrick, obviously, your next pick becomes a little bit more subject to what your playstyle is. For instance, the Monstrosity, there's a very good and real chance he'll come back around. I have found, this is personal experience, this might just be where I play, I don't know, but the Monstrosity frequently will table. He'll frequently come right back around because he's got triple green in his casting cost. Number one, green's not a popular color for draft. Number two, he really heavily puts you into green if you take him. Now, for example, if you're looking at a standard draft table where there's going to be, after you take your pick, there's going to be 7 more picks pulled out of this pack by the time you get it, right? So I'll tell you right now what's going to go. What's going to go by the time you get this back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe not that whole ounce on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus whatever you picked. And mind you, the guy who first picked Garrett couldn't look at the pack and do this exact same math and do this exact same thing in his head, figure out what's going to make it back to him. In fact, he can probably wager on that monstrosity make it back to him, unless someone else at the table opened up some really good green somewhere. He can be pretty sure of getting that monstrosity back. He really can. But yeah, I mean, you can actually look at it, look at a pack and say, yeah, this is what's going to go. Unless something weird happens, this is what's leaving the pack by the time I get it back. Because Garrick Relentless, he's a bomb. He will win games by himself. He hits the board, he makes creatures. He hits the board, maybe he removes a creature. If you don't have an answer for him at that point, after he removes a creature, hey, guess what? He flips. He starts churning out 1/1 Death Touch Wolves. That's some awesome stuff right there. My other pack that I got there the other day. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. We've got a Foil Corpse Lunge, a Mountain, a Gotstaff Shepherd. Demon Token would come out, whatever. Move that over, that over, that over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, that looks about right. There we go. So, actually, that would go more like. There we go. Yay. Okay. Okay, so the Gatstaff Shepherd. Okay, yes, he's a grizzly bear transforms into a 3/3 Intimidate. Not bad. He's not bad. Army of the Damned. I'll come right out and say Army of the Damned is... It's 8... Granted, it's an incredible effect, but it's 8 mana. And it puts you heavily into black. You don't know what's going to happen. Tangible Virtue. Those things are often last picks. Or close to last picks. It's not a popular card. Battleground Geist. It's a good-sized flyer. A Boneyard Worm. Mariner Skeleton, he's all usually late pick. Brimstone Volley, people will first pick those. Selhawk Occultist, meh. Spider Grasp, interesting. Night Terrors, interesting. Gruesome Deformity, not a priority at all. Altar's Reap, usually not a priority. Feral Ridge Wolf is a good filler card in red. Now, you might ask, what's the proper pick out of this pack? I can't really say there's a proper pick out of this pack, but I will tell you what picks I'd prioritize. I'll tell you right now what's going to go fast. The Army of the Damned is going to go... Someone's going to snap that up. Someone will usually snap an Army of the Damned up. Because someone's not going to be able to resist the temptation to make it work. That's my experience. Depends on where you go. But I'll tell you something right now. What will go and will go fast? The Flyer, the Direct Damage, the Werewolf with possible Intimidate. After that's kind of a toss-up. Probably the Army after that. Maybe the Ridge Wolf. Looking at last 7 cards, the 7 least playable cards in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those cards I just pushed aside, those are the ones that are coming back to you. The rest of these, probably not. Probably not. And that's one of the things, what's one of the skills you have to work on, you know? You have to look at a pack and figure out what's, sometimes you really have to figure out what's coming back to you. And, you know, just look at the pack and figure out what the 7 worst cards in the pack are. That's what's coming back to you. Another thing to keep in mind, of course, is when colors dry up, and they dry up fast. Last week while drafting, my first pick, my first pack in one of the drafts was the 2/2 First Strike Vigilance dude who's pro werewolves, vampires, and zombies for double white. He's not a bad card. And I'll tell you what happened with him. He was the first white card I got in the draft. I did not pick up another white card until pack 3. Not until pack 3. Because I literally did not see any more playable white cards after that in pack 1. And I was not the least bit surprised to note the 2 guys to my immediate right were both drafting white. Both of them. So it's like, yeah. Is this a surprise? No. No, it's not. It's really not. You can generally find out that certain people are drafting certain colors. Some people, you can tell basically because they have a habit. I mean a bad habit. I mean, generally, I sit down at a draft table, you can almost guarantee I'm not drafting green. In fact, there's a pretty strong possibility that I'm drafting blue-white, blue-black, or yeah, I'm generally going 2 colors: blue-white, blue-black, maybe red-white or red-blue. I don't go red-black that often, but that's the general assumption. My 3 most favorite colors are pretty much red, white, and blue when I draft. You know, go figure. So, but there's a lot of good black cards, and I'll frequently end up going black too. So, whatever, you know. But if you're in a draft, and you know the people around you, simply based on their play style, you can frequently bank on what they're going to do. I mean, I remember one time drafting. It was my first time back at the FLGS for a long while. I was on leave between duty stations, and we were drafting Shadowmoor. And one of the guys at the table, he's sitting there complaining. He's like, "Yeah, I was trying to draft red-white for a while, but like, my cards, somebody was cutting me off." And I'm like, "Well, I got all these red-white cards that I picked up because I'm a sucker for red-white, and because I am." I've been playing red and white together since before Boros, well before Boros. Since late 90s, late 90s, I've been playing red-white, But, yeah. So he sits there and just busts out loud, "I forgot you playing red-white." You could hear him kicking himself in his tone of voice. He practically yelled it. Because he knew this about me, and he was kicking his butt because he knew enough about me to be able to say, this is a color combination he favors. If he sees it, there's a good, strong chance he's going to go for it. But oh well, these things happen. And that's the long and short. I've been recording this video for a while. Went over a lot of draft theory. Well, mostly I went over evasion. I went over, basic concept of what is a bomb. I'll be perfectly honest. Sometimes what makes up a bomb is a very, very iffy thing. Because I remember back in Worldwig, I opened a Halo Hunter. He's a 6/3 Intimidate for a 3 and triple black. That when he hits the board, nuke an angel. And I got him as a foil in the pack. The regular rare I got in the pack, I believe, was the Sphinx of Jwar Isle, I believe it was. The 4 and double blue for a 5/5 flying shroud. Yeah, he's big, he's evasive, he's difficult to deal with. And you know what? I didn't pick either of them. I took the Trusty Machete. And it was the right pick. The Trusty Machete won me games. I ended up going into blue and black for that draft too, and it ended up, it was the right choice. I believe I came in first that draft too, if I recall correctly. I have to go back and double check. I don't know. It might be somewhere in my videos, right? Or would it be? I'm trying to remember. Was I making videos at that time? I can't recall. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. I mean, it worked out incredible for me because, it's Trusty Machete. It's a beat stick. That's one of the things to keep in mind. Every now and again, you'll see a really good accessory card that is going to win games for you. For example, back in the original Mirrodin block, Loxodon on Warhammer, 3 colorless artifact equipment, equips for 3 colorless. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 trample and lifelink. You crack one of those in pack 1, you do not pass it. Unless your rare is insane, you do not pass it. That was a card that came in the wrong rarity, just the wrong rarity. When it got reprinted in a core set, they bumped it up to a rare, and for good cause, Jeez. So, also, there's this site where you can do practice drafts. It's an interesting site. It's not 100% great. I mean, heavens forbid, last time I went into it, I ended up being able to, in Innistrad draft, make a white weenie deck. I mean, straight up monocolor white weenie, and it was just a bizarre thing to do. But I'll put the link in the video description, and that way, people can go there, they can check it out, blah 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 blah. I'm not affiliated with that site in any way, shape, or form, by the way, guys. I am seriously not. I've found them to be kind of a useful tool. It helps me figure out how, the greater Magic community evaluates certain cards that I may not be certain about, you know. Because there is a tool on there that shows how they evaluate certain cards, what priority they take. So it's kind of interesting, you know. Kind of interesting. Alright, I'm going to call this a wrap.